Right then. So, Masterclass day 4, going over mindset today. So, for you, Trudy, you're gonna hear a lot of this already, but for like Leanne or anyone else in here that's watching the recording, normal housekeeping, just stay muted. If you've got any questions, put them in the Zoom chat as well. And take notes if the slides aren't here because there's going to be a lot of information. So, the main thing that you want to start off with when you're thinking about your mindset and planning in general for your week to week is you need to be planning ahead. And it's the biggest thing that Trudy will know as well is make sure you are thinking ahead in terms of not just your day to day, but also your meals, your non negotiables, everything else when it comes to your family life. Everything needs to go somewhere, ideally in your phone calendar. Something that's you're going to have in your hand more often than not that you can check and make sure that you're staying on track with everything. So at the beginning of every week, put in everything that you do on that daily basis, Monday to Sunday. Set your non-negotiables and find the little time, like little gaps, and be realistic with the time that tasks take. So, for example, whether it be cooking meals, whether it takes you an hour or 2 hours, just be realistic. Don't take the piss of it, basically. And if it ends up being things like cleaning around your house, spend an hour on it or spend an hour and a half on it, and then put time aside basically for the things that you need to prioritize. So in terms of like finding your gaps, it's making time for things like eating, getting in your steps, getting in your workouts. These are little things that over time, when you actually look at your day as a whole, there will be points where you look at your schedule and be like, okay, I can make time here, or I could just make a little bit of sacrifice here or here or there to make time for things that do matter towards your overall goal. Because it's small sacrifices that you can make in order to make your entire life longer and your entire process in terms of losing the weight a hell of a lot easier. For example, like sitting down and watching Netflix in an evening, for example, you could easily just sit there and binge watch like 2 or 3 episodes of a series, and that's 3 hours of your evening potentially gone. Where in that time you could have gone and done like a half an hour workout in your living room, gone outside and probably done some steps if you've got someone else to look after your kids. There's so many different points where you can make time, but people just don't know how and don't know the actual mindset shift that they need to make in order to actually make the goals happen. The other thing, obviously, is doom scrolling. We've all been there, and you can put a one in the Zoom chat for this one, but you guarantee you have sat there on your sofa in the evening, thought, oh, I'll just have 5 minutes on Instagram or TikTok. You'll start there scrolling, 3 hours or 2 hours later, you are neck deep in the deepest of weirdest shite that you can ever find on Instagram or anything else, or you've just been spouted a shit ton of information that you're never really going to know what to do with in terms of like reaching your goal. You're basically just procrastinating on trying to reach a goal rather than actually doing the stuff that's going to get you to your goal. So these are the little gaps that you need to try and make little sort of sacrifices um, to actually achieve your goal. The next thing you need to be planning ahead for is your meals. Now, I always say trying to aim between anywhere 3 to 5 meals. Now, what I mean by when I say 5 meals, I don't mean um 5 full meals. I mean literally like three of your main three, so your breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and then 2 snacks, like I went over in the nutrition masterclass. But if you can't get the time to get the snacks, you need to be making sure you're getting the priority with the main 3 meals. Now, with that as well, you also need to make sure that you're putting decent enough gaps within your meals to sustain your hunger, to stop you from getting the cravings and all the rest of it. So you have to make sure that it's not just a case of you're making the meal on the spot, because more often than not, when you have your kids around, you'll go to make your meal, you'll get distracted. One of your kids might do something, especially now when it's half term. I can guarantee you that at some point during this half term, you will go to make your dinner, for example, or your lunch, and your kids will distract you and you won't end up eating, but you'll make them their food and you won't eat. Same thing for your breakfast. You need to be planning in advance when it comes to your meals, and that's the big shift that you need to make in terms of like make sure that you can actually reach your goal. Food is the main thing realistically. The next one on that is make sure you're actually spending some time to actually meal prep at least twice a week. You can do it once a week, but you'll find that you end up having to freeze stuff or you have to make even larger batches, which then takes up more than just potentially 2 hours in your evening twice a week to 5 hours in an entire day to do an entire week's worth of meal prep. So if you can find 2 days in your week where you can say, let's say for example a Sunday and maybe a Thursday or a Wednesday, they're probably your best days to actually meal prep, and then you can cover your entire week, whether it be your meals for work, your meals for your breakfast to make sure that doesn't get missed. And then if you wanted to, you could cook your dinner fresh every evening. That is one way around you could do it. The other way around it is planning the night before for what you're going to take with you or eat the day after. So if you're not one of these people that doesn't like eating leftovers or eating meals that have been prepped the night before, plan the day before as well. So there's plenty of different ways you can look at meal prepping. It's whatever works for you. It's whatever works for your lifestyle more often than not. The next thing you have to do is build a routine. So you need to prioritize whatever is in your life to make your routine, because without prioritizing the things that matter, you can't expect to succeed. So prioritizing your goals and making sure that you put yourself as number one rather than the other people around you in your life is the main thing. And yes, I know we're all parents, but your kids will survive for, let's say, half an hour while you do a little bit of a workout at home, or you go for a walk. Take your kid with you if you need to, but prioritizing you over them is something that you need to do and need to learn that it's not a bad thing. And parent guilt, I guess another thing when it comes to it. If you want a whole episode on parent guilt, I do have a podcast that I can link you as well if you want to understand the mindset around changing around the parent guilt side of things. But you need to put yourself first. The short-term sacrifices that you make, like I was mentioning before, will lead to long-term benefits. They'll lead to you losing more weight, being more fit, being able to actually spend more time with your kids and actually be active with your kids, which then improves their lifestyle and their memories of when they're younger, and also gives you the positive side of it, knowing that you're actually doing something to benefit their life and teaching them positive traits and positive lifestyle moments that they can then take into their future. So it's those benefits you've got to really prioritize in your life. The next thing is making sure that you're following discipline. I hear far too often that people look at motivation to before they even think about starting, before they even think about um, looking at even potentially going for even increasing the steps. They look for motivation first, and what realistically you need to look at is discipline. So if we take the graph that I've got, or this pitch that I've put up there, is when you've got discipline, you do an action. So whether that be your discipline to go and do your workout, you're doing the workout, which is the action. Over time, that action then will become a consistent thing that you try to do. And with that, you'll get the results. And then from the results, you normally get motivation, which then goes back into your discipline. But if you took motivation out of that and kept just your discipline, your consistency, everything else still plays. Everything else still goes. With your results, you're still going to get discipline. Taking motivation away doesn't matter. It's understanding that with everything, you can't just rely on motivation. Motivation comes, it goes so fast that you won't actually. I just realized about discipline long ago. Sorry. Um, you won't understand that obviously the impact that you'll have on yourself without having the motivation side of it, just thinking discipline. There is one step further that you can come into this and add in like accountability, which I am going to touch on as well, because that's the biggest thing above everything else that trumps everything else. As Trudy could probably say as well, as she's on the call as one of my clients, she will hands down probably say that the accountability side is what's kept her on track. So again, just think discipline and consistency over motivation. Motivation will only get you so far. So going into the accountability side of things, um, there is honestly no replacement for accountability. Everyone needs some form of accountability. Like I put here, I myself invest in myself in order to have accountability. Like I invest in a business coach to make sure that I am running my business to the best I can do it, and making sure that if I don't do what needs to be done to make sure my business stays above float, basically, my coach is on my ass about it. So it's that same thing with you. I'm on my clients on ass a lot of the time for um when they aren't on track. But it's that same thing. It's everyone needs it. We are human. We all fall off. We all need someone else to basically hold us up. So without the discipline and without motivation, it's usually what's this is basically your starting point. You'll usually start with no motivation and no discipline. And with that, you're not going to end up getting results. And the only thing that's going to help you get discipline and get motivation is some form of accountability. So that is what truly matters is the accountability above everything else. But what the reason why accountability is so important is the fact that it gives you someone that is in your corner, someone that's going to be with you step by step of the way, giving you advice and backing you to make sure that you can actually get the results and really just putting that trust in you as a person that you are capable of what you are trying to achieve. Because there's only so far you'll go where you'll kind of look at yourself in the mirror and think, oh, I'm not actually getting anywhere with this. But when you've got someone else that's looking at the data and looking at the images and taking like zooming out basically, that you'll know that you've got someone that's supporting you rather than someone trying to hold you back or someone like in yourself basically telling you you're doing shite when you're not. That is where the real part of coaching, where the real part of you actually achieving your goal actually matters. It is in that accountability. So like I said, I was going to do, I was going to teach you guys how you can actually deal with what life brings you because each day can never be the same. There'll always be different things you have to tackle in your life. But these are some of the things that I'm guarantee you have said to yourself at some point, and it's the negative side that you kind of want you to flip around. So this whole mindset of I don't have time to fit in anything or do any form of exercise, don't have any time to actually make sure I'm prioritizing myself. It is bollocks. Everyone has at least 15 minutes or 30 minutes in a day. Like if you was to spread out your entire week, there is no doubt in my mind you could make up an hour and a half for three 30-minute sessions in a week and fit them in. And the reason I say that is because I have heard it from so many people that say they don't have time and they have succeeded and made time. And again, I'm going to bring Trudy into this one. Trudy started off with only doing 2 sessions a week at 30 minutes. She very quickly, within the first 5 weeks, turned around to me and said, I want more sessions. Can you do me 2 extra sessions that I can fit in for 4 sessions a week and do 4 lots of half-an-hour sessions? That is how quick your mindset can change to make sure that you do have time. The other excuse I hear a lot is that you feel tired. It's understandable that you feel tired. You've got kids, you've got a job that you're also trying to uphold, and you're also mentally drained as well, and probably not fueling yourself enough to actually maintain everything. So you're gonna feel tired. The moment you start fueling yourself and start actually looking towards what's going to keep you energized, that is when the tiredness goes away. And it's a very easy mindset that you can quickly change within the first week of even starting a nutrition plan. And actually fueling your body how it needs to be fueled. That goes away faster than anything. Then you go over the point of where you stop doing and stop achieving your goals because you no longer see the progress that is happening that you think you've just stopped and you've just plateaued and never going to change. The likelihood is there's other things going on around your life that are ready to change, but something else is stopping you. Whether you've got ill, whether you need to just reduce your calories a little bit more, or whether or not you need to increase your activity levels. There's so many different ways you can look at this. You might just be holding more waste, for example, holding more water. You can't do anything about that. So having again, it comes back to this accountability, having someone to zoom out and see these things is the biggest picture that you can actually look at yourself. But knowing that when you're not seeing progress, the progress is still being made and just continue doing the process that you are trying to achieve, I guarantee that the next week or even 2 weeks down the line, that progress will come in and it'll bounce back. But all of these feelings are completely normal because at the end of the day, this is life as an adult. As we've grown up, you've gone from obviously being not so much probably as independent as you probably were as like you're growing up and you're normally living with parents and whatnot, you're always more active. The moment you get to the point where you've got kids and you have to actually look after a household, everything changes. It's no longer just a case of you guys have already. Sorry about that. There we go. My headset just decided it wants to turn off. So you'll already know all this that you get older, everything changes in life. You get a job, you you'll drive a car, for example, so you are less active. Um, but everything changes, especially when you've got the kids around. You always, as your first one, you always try to put them first and make sure that everything is put to them rather than yourself. And it's life. We all go through these changes. We all don't know how to actually deal with it as we grow up. No one ever teaches you these things. So it's having someone else that's been had them experiences to help you get through the experiences you might be going through. But with everything that I've said so far, it doesn't mean that you have to stay the same. Because staying the same, typically, like I've said before, it is harder to stay the same than it is to make a change. That little change that you can make will be far easier in the long run to sustain than just staying the same and suffering through everything. So once you've actually understood that with your progress, you will get consistency, and with that consistency, you will then actually achieve your goals. That is where the true magic actually happens. So when you do get to a point where your days do get tough and you kind of shoot yourself in the foot a little bit or you go off plan a little bit, you need to focus on the 1%. So the 1% are always the little bits that you don't really think about all too often in your day, but they make up a massive portion. So small little wins, whether it be that you've climbed a flight of stairs without getting out of breath, for example, that is a 1% improvement that you might not even realize. It might not even register in your brain, but they're the little things that if you was to add up over the course of a week, little small improvements that you've made very quickly adds up to a 7% improvement in a week of what you were the week before. And that's the way that kind of need to flip your overall mindset in terms of like if you're not seeing the progress on the scales or you're not seeing it in your measurements, look elsewhere. So, a couple of things to remember based on everything that I've taught you through the last 3 days on this masterclass that I've not fully mentioned. In terms of your nutrition and your training, always think the 80-20 rule. So 80-20 rule is the simplest form of making sure that you can have a fun life and as well as reach your goals. So let's say 80% of the time you are on track with your plans. You've nailed your food intake, you nail your workouts, you put 100% effort in with them, you hit your step goal, and you've hit your water goal, water intake, and you sleep. But then 20% of that time, let's say you decide you want to go out for a meal, for example, you want to go and have some family time, you want to go out for a drink with your friends, for example, that becomes a 20%. And that 20% is not going to outweigh the 80% of the progress that you've already made with everything else being on plan. It's that 20% that keeps you on track. So even if it comes down to the point of you having a bar of chocolate to help you stay on track, it can be simple as that. That can be your 20% that you've let yourself loose and had a full bar of dairy milk, for example. Life is about living. It's not about suffering at the end of the day. And that is the biggest way that you can do it is sticking to an 80-20 rule. And ultimately, it does come down to you being smart with it and not thinking, oh, this is my 20%, whilst all weekend you've been on a massive binge with your food and going out on like Friday night, going out on Saturday night, whatever it might be. Think of it realistically when it comes to the 80-20 rule. Like 3 days of binging isn't going to, is definitely, I should say, is definitely going to hinder your results. Just think the small little times where you want to spend time with your family, they're the main ones. And again, going back to them small wins, just think of them 1% improvements. And if you ever do kind of think that you are completely off plan or completely just having an absolute shit day, for example, I want you to pause and think. Think about everything else that's going on around you. Think about rather than all the negative things, try and flip what's going on in that moment into a positive. So if someone's stressing at you at work, for example, try and flip it into a positive moment that why they're stressing at you is because you can help them obviously achieve their goal in getting something done in work, for example. And from that positive, then from that, you can have that sense of achievement that you've helped someone else. That's as little as blatant as it can get, as in terms of how you can rethink things rather than just constantly thinking stress, 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 or I've done shit. Think of the positive sides. So with that as well, just think about breaking the cycle and not your day. So when that comes around and where something might tip you over the edge, think about just stopping there, reframe your mind, and think positively. Don't let it ruin the rest of your day. So some practical methods that you can take away. Journaling is a massive one that you can do. So at the end of the day, or even in the morning, writing down your thoughts, writing down your emotions, and making sure that everything you've put down on that paper is gone. So you write it down, you forget about it. That's the best way you can think about journaling. Or you can try things like meditation, breathing exercises, all them kind of things kind of work. Or if it's something simple like you just sitting down, reading a book, and that's your you time, try and make things educational as well if you can. So if things like listening to a podcast or listening to a book, if you learn from things, I can guarantee that your mindset will completely change because then you'll get a sense of like achievement out of learning something new as well. And lastly, is again, like I was saying about the accountability side, if you don't have someone holding you accountable, try yourself to zoom out on on the information you've got in front of you. So whether it be if you're looking at your own results and you've not made the progress that you're wanting to achieve in by that next week, zoom out, look at what's changed and what's not the same, and look at things that are the same that are potentially causing you not to change as well, so causing you not to lose weight. Or zoom out again and look at the fact of what happened the day before, because that could also be another factor as well. There's so many factors to it, but the more you kind of zoom out and look at the bigger picture, the more you'll be able to reframe your mind. So to go on from this as well for the end of the masterclass, I do have an offer going on. Um, as well for you, Trudy, as I do have other offers as well for people inside the my coaching group at the moment. But has anyone got any questions on mindset at all? If not, you can type all good in the Zoom chat, or you can unmute if you've got